A hobby, if done right, should lose you money. Now, nowadays, there's such an idea that really infects everything that you even consider to begin, whether that's painting or writing or whatever thing you can consider here as a hobby, sport, whatever it may be. There's always the monetization side of things. There's always the little voice, whether that's your own or online or whatever it may be, asking, how will this make money? How will we monetize this? And if it is something that you are already doing, let's say you're getting a bit good at it, there's always that, I don't even know if I call it a need, but a sort of pressure to monetize. And everyone's selling you courses on how do you monetize your passion? How do you make this certain amount of money with this thing? And I think we forgot that the reason to do these things, whatever those things may be, is not fundamentally to make money. Even if that ends up happening and if those dots end up aligning that you then follow that as a career, it cannot be that, especially in the beginning, that leads you toward that. And it cannot be that because when that begins, any hobby, you name it, within his mind or her mind that I'm gonna begin this to make money, it's like you're destroying your creativity in whatever pureness you may have before you even begin. Because if we consider and you look at anything, whether that be sports or art or whatever it may be, none of the people nowadays that really are monetizing it the best, that are the top paid, whether that's in sports or again whatever it may be, never. And in most cases, it never started because they, in their mind, when they were kids, they were like, oh, let me do this because if I follow the steps and I continue in this and I'm a good athlete, whatever, then I'll be making millions of dollars per year. It was never like that. It can never be like that because perhaps the main reason here is that we cannot see that far into the future. We severely, in my opinion, overestimate just how good we are at being able to predict things. Because we look at whatever interests us. And maybe I saw one day I was walking outside and I saw some secondhand stores selling some watercolor paints. And perhaps my first instinct was somehow that called for me and I was like, well, maybe I should buy it and paint. But almost immediately after, all the questions start to pop up of, but how good can I really get? Am I not too old to get into this? And that follows the question, too old, why would I be too old? Too old to then end up making a career out of this and make money. And will all these dots that now appeared in my mind, will they all connect? And if we look at things that way, the answer will always be no, or probably not. Because before I begin, I'm bad at it. If I never tried, I never did it, then I'm going to be bad at it. Even if I have talent for it, you're not going to see that when you begin. No one, you can count on your hands the amount of people that throughout history we just picked up something and they were immediately good at it. It doesn't just come like that. It doesn't, things don't just work like that. And even if they did, it just is the complete wrong way to go about it. The better way to go about it, as hobbies go, is I saw this thing that called for me for some reason. I honestly, often a reason I cannot explain. And then I just began doing it. By the pureness or whatever you call it, pureness of myself, of this thing that interests me, and I'm just doing it for the love of the game, essentially. I'm just, maybe I'm 43 years old, I saw some watercolor paints, I'm gonna learn how to paint now. Is it, the best for my career in the future? Will this be the thing that makes me rich? It doesn't matter. Because we don't do things, and we don't, especially hobbies, especially things that should be fulfilling a need and a desire that does not get fulfilled any other way. It shouldn't even be in our minds if this will be monetizable or not. Because if we think about it, okay, imagine you have monetized something very well. You have millions of dollars and now you're retired. What would you do now that you don't need to monetize things? Would it not be something similar to the painting or the new sport or the new artistic thing? It would. And then you would fill your day with that. And then you wouldn't be worried about the money. Now, one may say, yeah, but I don't have that money now, so I should perhaps be worried about that. And how do I get rich? Perhaps, but you already have your job, you already have the time for that. If all your time is focused on this, if you make money your God, it will never end well. Because if it becomes the end all be all, the thing that will fulfill you, the thing that is above all, that will, and you can look at anyone that took that path seriously, it will just make you a bad person that will just do a lot of bad things, and you may end up with a lot of money, but you lose everything else in exchange for it. And so we must look at these things. I would see here, imagining almost if either money didn't exist, as Alan Watts says, if what would you do if money were no object, or as if you were already retired. And then what you would do, and that I think is the hardest part, is that perhaps now, if you're watching this video from where you stand, you wouldn't know. Perhaps now there's nothing kind of calling you. Perhaps, it's not something, not perhaps, often, it's not something you can just sit and think about and just brainstorm your way through. This is going to be my passion. In a lot of ways, you just have to allow life to happen, and for these situations and circumstances to happen and for them to flow naturally. I talked in a previous video, which was from Dune, which was the first law of Mentat that they say in the book, which is you cannot understand a process by stopping it. Paraphrasing here, but the only way to understand the process is to join its motion, its movement, and enter its flow. The same as I see it is true here. If we do not enter the flow of life and allow for things to happen in the right time, not in the time we want and the flow we want, but the flow they have, then they will naturally appear. They will come to us. We will not have to do anything except to accept when they arrive. And it's, again, perhaps you're in a secondhand store and you see some cool book about baking bread. Maybe that's it. You buy the book, you go and bake a loaf of bread, and maybe that's the passion for the rest of your life. We do not know. But we are not going to know by either just thinking about what is going to be the most profitable thing for me to do, and that's going to be my career, because it just doesn't work like that. Nor by just thinking about what should I do? I don't have a hobby. Let me find a hobby. Let me find something that gives me more of that fulfillment, because it will simply not work like that. In a lot of ways, it requires the opposite of what we think it is required. Because a lot of times I do believe because we achieve so many things due to our conscious, intelligent mind, through logical planning and execution and all that. And so we extend that to every area of life. But I would say the ones that are more related to passion and to, the sort of trueness of what calls for us require the opposite. They require, in a lot of ways, nothing more but to go, quote unquote, with the flow. And that is difficult, because if now you're in a point that you really want it, there's really nothing for you to do. You just go about your life and it will come up. If you are seeking for something that you can't quite pinpoint, you can't quite describe, you don't even, it's just sort of a feeling of what you want, it will come to you. I have no doubt about that. Unless you close yourself at home and you just watch YouTube videos all day, and even then, perhaps the right video will find you. But if you just go about living life and about doing your things, not only will it arrive, multiple opportunities will arrive, multiple interesting things, multiple things that call for you. And all you have to do, as I see it, is not to overthink it. It's not to be there thinking, but what are the 20 years from now? What happens if I do this? Doesn't matter. You don't know. No one knows. Perhaps you'll die. Who knows? All you know is, I'm living in the moment. I could do that. I'm called to do that. Do it. You cannot go wrong with that.